Chapter 26, Field Test. The city skyline stretched beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows of Blackwood Tower as Leo prepped the final vials for the field test. The scent of Nocturne filled the air, daring, complex, intoxicating, a testament to her ingenuity and nerve. Victoria entered silently, her presence immediately commanding. Gray eyes scanned the array of vials and testers, lingering on Leo with that precise, evaluating gaze that could cut through glass. "Are you ready?" Victoria asked, voice low, measured, carrying authority and challenge. Leo smirked, holding up the first vial. "As ready as I'll ever be. This one will speak for itself." Victoria's lips twitched ever so slightly, a flicker of interest. "Then let's see if it lives up to your audacity." The field test involved a carefully curated focus group, industry experts, influencers, and loyal Blackwood clients. Each would experience Nocturne firsthand, with Leo observing reactions and adjustments in real time. As participants inhaled the scent, murmurs of intrigue rippled through the room. Eyes widened subtly, expressions shifting from polite curiosity to fascination. The combination of smoky leather, rare florals, and teasing spice was disarming, unexpected, and undeniably compelling. Victoria remained at the edge of the group, arms crossed, her gaze fixed on Leo. She made no comment, but Leo could feel the intensity of her scrutiny, each flicker of reaction from her eyes feeding the thrill of the challenge. One participant leaned forward, voice hushed but animated. "This is unlike anything I've ever smelled. Bold, intoxicating, sophisticated yet daring. Who created this?" Leo's pulse quickened as all eyes shifted toward her. "I did," she said, voice calm but confident, letting the subtle pride shine through. "It's called Nocturne, a scent that plays in shadows, daring yet refined." Victoria's eyes flickered, the faintest shadow of acknowledgement crossing her composed features. "Impressive," she murmured, almost to herself. "Very impressive." The focus group's reactions intensified, with praise, curiosity, and genuine excitement spreading like wildfire. Sales projections were updated in real time, already exceeding expectations. Leo allowed herself a subtle, triumphant smile, knowing the data confirmed what she already felt. Her audacity had succeeded. Victoria approached finally, her steps deliberate. "The market responds well," she said, eyes sharp, measuring. "Better than anticipated. But your real test is sustaining it. Innovating consistently under pressure. That is where true skill is proven." Leo met her gaze evenly, a spark of challenge in her blue eyes. "Then consider me ready. I don't just survive pressure, I thrive under it." Victoria's lips curved faintly, acknowledging the audacity she could never fully admit to admiring. "For now, this is acceptable. But the next stage will push boundaries further. And I will be watching closely." Leo inhaled the scent of her creation, Victoria's perfume lingering like a shadow beside her, and felt a thrill unlike any other. The market had spoken, but Victoria's evaluation, silent, subtle, and dangerous, was the prize she craved most. And somewhere behind her composed exterior, Victoria Blackwood allowed herself a rare, fleeting thought. This woman was not only fearless and brilliant, she was a force that could not be ignored. Chapter 27, The Complication. The morning started like any other, the lab buzzing with energy as Leo reviewed the latest feedback from the field test. Everything had gone perfectly yesterday, or so it seemed. A sudden alert pinged across her tablet, pulling her attention immediately. A batch of Nocturne samples, sent to a major retailer, had triggered a minor, but unexpected, allergic reaction in a small group of participants. Nothing dangerous, but enough to spark concern and complaints. Leo's stomach tightened. "Not possible. I triple-checked every ingredient," she muttered under her breath. Victoria appeared in the doorway before Leo could react further, eyes sharp and calculating, arms crossed. The faint scent of her perfume filled the lab, mingling with the lingering notes of Nocturne. "What is the problem?" Victoria asked, voice calm but edged with the authority of someone accustomed to controlling crises. Leo held up the tablet, showing the data. "It's a small reaction in the field test, minor, but it could escalate if we don't act immediately." I'm reviewing all variables now, but it doesn't make sense. I verified every formula, every batch. Victoria's gaze held hers, piercing, evaluating. Mistakes are costly. Not just for the company, for you. Leo straightened, meeting her eyes evenly. I understand. But I'm not going to let this fail. I'll fix it. Victoria stepped closer, the air between them charged. I expect it fixed before noon. And I will be monitoring every step. Failure is not an option, Miss Duval. Leo's pulse quickened, partly from pressure, partly from the thrill of the challenge. Consider it done. She dove into the analysis, running tests, cross-referencing suppliers, and isolating every variable that could have caused the reactions. Hours passed like minutes, adrenaline and focus sharpening her mind. Victoria lingered nearby, silent, observing. Occasionally she'd step forward, voice low, measured. Check the stabilizers again. And the pH balance. That could affect the reaction unexpectedly. Leo nodded, adjusting her calculations. Already done. Nothing is out of spec. But I'll run another test just to be sure. Hours later, after relentless testing and adjustment, Leo found a subtle, almost imperceptible interaction between two rare notes, nothing that should have triggered reactions under normal conditions, but under specific conditions, it could. She reformulated the batch, maintaining the integrity of Nocturne, but eliminating the variable entirely. Victoria approached, eyes assessing the corrected batch. She inhaled, expression neutral but sharp, and finally said, "You've corrected it. Efficient, precise, and clever. Not everyone could have done that." Leo let herself smirk faintly. I told you, I thrive under pressure. Victoria's lips quirked slightly, a rare acknowledgement of her admiration, though her voice remained firm. Don't mistake acknowledgement for approval freely given. But this was well executed. You may have earned some respect, for now. Leo's heart raced, part triumph, part thrill at the ongoing tension. For now is enough, she said softly. The air between them held the electric charge of challenge, audacity, and the unspoken acknowledgement that this game, between brilliance, daring, and scrutiny, was only beginning. Chapter 28. The External Challenge. The Blackwood Tower conference room was charged with tension, the panoramic view of the city only intensifying the gravity of the moment. Leo stood at the head of the table, flanked by Victoria on one side, her posture perfect, eyes assessing every detail. Across the table sat a group of industry executives, reporters, and rival fragrance designers, each there to test, scrutinize, and challenge Nocturne. Whispers of skepticism rippled through the room, a young and proven creator claiming audacity against seasoned industry giants. Victoria's gaze never left Leo. "This is your stage," she murmured, voice low, commanding. "Convince them or falter, and it's on you." Leo inhaled deeply, letting the faint traces of her creation blend with the controlled tension of the room. "I didn't come here to falter," she said softly, but with unwavering confidence. "I came to prove audacity can triumph over expectation." The first executive, a veteran known for ruthless criticism, leaned forward. "Your scent is bold, unorthodox. But does it have market longevity? Can it sustain attention?" Leo smiled, calm, precise. "Nocturne is designed to evolve. It challenges the norm, rewards those willing to experience it fully, and lingers in memory, not just on the skin, but in perception. Longevity isn't just about scent, it's about audacity, refinement, and relevance." A murmur went around the room. Some skeptical, some impressed. Leo continued, showcasing subtle variations, layering the narrative behind each note, the rare botanicals, and the daring composition that set Nocturne apart. Victoria's gray eyes studied her, measuring every word, every gesture. A faint smile tugged at the corner of her lips, unspoken approval hidden beneath her signature control. The rival designers tried to dissect, critique, even intimidate, but Leo met each challenge with composure, intellect, and subtle defiance. "Innovation isn't always comfortable," she said calmly. "Sometimes it provokes. But true mastery recognizes genius when it refuses to conform." By the end of the session, skepticism had shifted to curiosity, admiration, and reluctant acknowledgement. Orders were requested, social media buzzed, and industry insiders whispered, this new scent, this young creator, was unstoppable. Victoria finally stepped forward, her presence magnetic, commanding the room. This has been evaluated, she said, voice crisp, carrying authority. Results are exceptional. Miss Duval has not only met expectations, she has redefined them. The executives and designers exchanged glances, impressed, even awed. Leo's pulse raced, triumph, validation, and the thrill of Victoria's silent, calculating admiration coursing through her. As the room cleared, Victoria approached, eyes locking on hers. The industry recognizes your audacity, but remember, they will test you again. Always. And I will be watching every step, every choice, every risk. Leo's smirk returned, confident, daring. Then let them test. I don't just survive scrutiny. I thrive under it. Victoria's gaze lingered, subtle acknowledgement in her eyes, before she allowed herself to step back. For now, this is acceptable. But audacity alone will not carry you forever. Keep pushing, Miss Duval. Leo inhaled deeply, the scent of nocturne mingling with the faint traces of Victoria's perfume in the air. The game was far from over, but victory, in its own daring, intoxicating way, was hers to savor. Chapter 29, V. The lab was quiet, almost reverent, as Leo moved among the vials and instruments. Every note, every nuance, every trace of scent had a purpose tonight. She wasn't creating for the market, not for approval, not for anyone but one woman. Victoria's presence lingered at the edge of her awareness, the subtle pressure of her perfume, the measured authority in every gesture, the gray eyes that saw too much and judged everything. Leo's pulse quickened with determination. Tonight, she would capture Victoria. Leo carefully blended rare and daring elements, smoky oud for strength and resilience, violet and soft iris for elegance and intelligence, a whisper of pepper and leather for defiance and audacity. Every layer reflected Victoria, untouchable yet magnetic, commanding yet intricate, ice and fire intertwined. She inhaled the final vial, the scent complete. V, one letter, simple, bold, unapologetic. Perfect. Victoria appeared silently at the lab door, heels clicking lightly against the floor, her eyes scanning the room and Leo. Miss Duval, late night? Her voice carried authority, curiosity, and something unspoken that made Leo's pulse quicken. I've been working, Leo replied softly, holding the vial carefully, letting the faintest wisp of V drift between them. On something new. Victoria's eyes narrowed, catching the scent immediately. It was familiar, yet unfamiliar. Bold, commanding, intoxicating. Her brows furrowed slightly, subtle, but revealing more than she intended. What is that? Her voice was low, careful, measured, but her pulse betrayed her. Leo smiled faintly, stepping closer, holding the vial at chest level. It's you. Or, at least, the version of you I've perceived. Strength, elegance, defiance, intelligence. All distilled into one scent. Victoria's eyes widened almost imperceptibly. The walls she'd built, meticulously maintained, seemed to flicker. You can't. Why not? Leo interrupted softly, blue eyes locked on hers. You are remarkable, Miss Blackwood. Impossible to ignore. I simply captured it. Victoria's chest rose and fell slightly faster, the subtle acknowledgement she would never voice. She inhaled again, letting the layers of V settle in her senses. It was perfect. Intimate. Dangerous. You named it. V? Victoria's voice was barely above a whisper. Leo smirked faintly. Yes. One letter. Simple. Bold. Enough to demand attention, like the woman it represents. Victoria's eyes softened just slightly, the tiniest crack in her ice-cold composure. Bold. Audacious. You dare to be this forward. I dare, Leo said softly, leaning closer, letting the scents mingle V and the faint trace of Victoria's signature perfume, creating a charged, intoxicating tension between them. Because I trust you'll recognize it, and maybe, just maybe, allow it. Victoria's lips curved the faintest fraction of a smile, a wall cracking, a shield faltering, just enough for Leo to see victory not in words, but in acknowledgement. "You've captured something," she murmured. "Something dangerous." Leo's heart raced. "And yet, beautiful. Just like you." For the first time, Victoria didn't immediately retreat. Her eyes lingered, assessing, intrigued, challenged, and undeniably affected. V hung between them, intoxicating, audacious, and personal. The lab was silent, but the air between them burned with electricity, audacity, and the unspoken acknowledgement that this creation was no longer just a perfume. It was a declaration, a challenge, and, perhaps, the beginning of something far more intimate. Chapter 30, Aftermath. The lab was heavy with the scent of V. Every corner of the room carried the intoxicating, audacious fragrance Leo had created, a reflection of Victoria herself. And yet, the air between them was charged not with triumph alone, but with something far more personal. Victoria stood near the window, eyes fixed on the city lights below, her posture rigid, but subtle tremors betrayed the cracks in her composure. Leo watched carefully, noting the small shifts, the quickened pulse at her wrist, the faintest drop of her shoulders, the way her breath hitched almost imperceptibly when she inhaled V. "You shouldn't have done this," Victoria said finally, voice low, controlled, but tinged with something new, vulnerability. "V, it's too intimate." Leo approached slowly, keeping her distance, but letting the perfume linger like a bridge between them. "Intimate? Isn't that what you wanted? Something daring, unforgettable." Victoria's eyes flicked toward her, sharp, conflicted, yet undeniably affected. "I didn't mean for you to capture me. Not like this." Leo tilted her head, letting a faint, teasing smile play on her lips. "I didn't just capture it, Miss Blackwood. I refined it. Perfected it. Just like you." A faint shiver ran down Victoria's spine, though she masked it with a subtle inhale. This isn't for the market. V isn't for anyone else. Understand me?" "I understand," Leo said softly, letting the words settle between them. "It's yours. Only yours. But you see it, don't you? The scent, the essence, it's undeniable. You can't ignore it." Victoria's lips pressed into a thin line, a subtle battle between control and surrender. "I won't allow it on the shelves. Not for sale. Not for anyone else to experience what only I should know." Leo stepped closer, letting the faintest wisp of V intertwine with the traces of Victoria's signature perfume. "Then keep it, Miss Blackwood. Keep it as long as you want. But don't deny yourself, or me, the acknowledgement it demands." Victoria's gray eyes softened, just slightly, revealing a crack in her otherwise impervious walls. You see too much," she whispered, almost to herself. "I see what you want me to see," Leo murmured, letting the tension hang in the air, electric and intoxicating. "And what I see is remarkable. Fearless. Complex. Unforgettable. You." Victoria inhaled sharply, the scent of V filling her senses, forcing a reaction she could neither control nor hide. For the first time, she didn't mask her vulnerability entirely. "You dare to know me like this? Anne." Her voice faltered. Leo took a careful step closer, letting the proximity, the scent, and the charged silence speak where words could not. "You don't have to say it," Leo whispered. "I see it anyway." Victoria's walls wavered, her eyes meeting Leo's, sharp and calculating yet undeniably human, vulnerable, affected. For once, she didn't retreat, didn't command, didn't hide. She simply let Leo witness what very few ever could, the woman behind the empire, the strength behind the ice, and the cracks that made her real. And in that silence, in that shared, electric understanding, V became more than a scent. It became a bond, a challenge, a secret between them, unspoken, dangerous, and undeniably theirs. Chapter 31, The Bond. The lab was quiet, the city lights shimmering against the glass walls, casting long, angular shadows. V lingered in the air, potent, intimate, a silent reminder of the night's revelations. Victoria stood near the counter, her eyes distant yet sharp, the faintest trace of vulnerability still lingering beneath her composed exterior. Leo watched her from across the room, heartbeat steady despite the charged tension. "You're persistent," Victoria said finally, her voice low, deliberate, but not commanding. "And audacious. I haven't had anyone push this far before." Leo stepped closer, the faint curve of a smirk teasing her lips. "Persistence is a requirement when someone is as remarkable as you. And audacity, well, that's just part of me." Victoria's eyes flicked to her, sharp and calculating, yet softened by curiosity and something unspoken. "Remarkable, audacious, dangerous. You know how I respond to danger, don't you?" Leo's gaze held hers without flinching. "Yes, you resist it. You control it. And yet, you're drawn to it. Like I am drawn to you." For the first time, Victoria didn't retreat. She inhaled subtly, the scent of V intertwining with the faint trace of her own perfume, and for a moment, the ice around her heart seemed to melt. "You are reckless," she whispered, almost to herself. "And yet," Leo replied softly, stepping closer, letting the tension hang between them, "I'm exactly what you need. The challenge you crave, the audacity you won't admit you enjoy." Victoria's lips pressed into a thin line, holding back words she wasn't ready to say. Her eyes, however, betrayed her flickers of intrigue, vulnerability, and reluctant acknowledgement. "You see too much." "I see what you allow me to see," Leo murmured, letting the words linger in the charged silence. "And what I see is powerful, brilliant, and human. All at once." The moment stretched, electric and intimate, a delicate dance between desire and restraint. Victoria's shoulders relaxed ever so slightly, the faintest exhale escaping her lips, a sign she rarely gave. "Trust." Victoria began, then stopped, the words caught in the cracks of her control. Leo smiled softly, sensing the breakthrough. "You don't have to finish. I understand. And I respect it." Victoria's eyes held hers longer than necessary, the barriers around her heart wavering. "For someone so bold, you're surprisingly patient." "And for someone so formidable," Leo replied, letting the tension pulse between them, "you're more human than you let anyone see. That's why V exists for you, for me, for this bond." Victoria's lips curved faintly, a dangerous, rare acknowledgement of connection. "This bond is complicated." "Of course," Leo said softly, letting the perfume, the silence, and the electricity speak. "Nothing worth having is simple." For the first time in a long time, Victoria allowed herself to linger in the unspoken intimacy, the challenge, and the audacity of their connection. And in that moment, the bond between them, forged in scent, challenge, and shared secrets, became undeniable. Chapter 32. Pressure and Proximity. The Blackwood Tower conference room was transformed. What had begun as a routine executive meeting had escalated into a crisis. A major international client demanded an emergency demonstration of the improved perfume lines, including V, before a potential multi-million-dollar deal could be finalized. Victoria stood at the head of the table, immaculate and commanding as ever, but Leo could sense the tension beneath the surface. Every subtle shift in her posture, every micro-expression betrayed more than she intended. "We need this demonstration flawless," Victoria said, her voice cutting across the room. "No errors. No surprises." "Understood." "Yes, ma'am," Leo replied, keeping her tone professional yet steady, eyes locking with Victoria's. There was no question. They were partners in this, at least for this moment. As they began the demonstration, Leo administered the scents to the clients, including the market-disrupting Nocturne and the intensely personal V. The reactions were immediate: intrigue, fascination, admiration. And then, a client asked to know more about V, insisting on the story behind the creation. The room's attention focused squarely on Leo. Victoria's eyes snapped to hers, sharp, calculating. "Explain it." Leo's heart pounded, not from nerves, but from the thrill of proximity, the electricity in Victoria's gaze. She took a measured breath. V is inspired by brilliance, strength, complexity, and the woman who refuses to be ignored. It's audacious, commanding, and intimate, meant for one person, though the world can witness its presence. A subtle hush fell over the room. Victoria's jaw tightened imperceptibly, the tiniest crack in her composure, yet her eyes betrayed admiration, fascination, and something deeper. "You dare to make this personal," Victoria said softly, almost a whisper, meant only for Leo. "For me." "I did," Leo replied evenly, yet the tension in her voice held more than words. "Because you deserve it. Because you're remarkable." Victoria's breath hitched subtly. She rarely allowed anyone to get this close, emotionally, professionally, or personally. And yet, here was Leo, audacious, unflinching, claiming a space inside her carefully controlled world. After the demonstration, the clients were impressed, the deal secured, and the room cleared. Leo and Victoria were left alone. The silence stretched, heavy with unspoken acknowledgement. "You've done more than impress me," Victoria murmured, eyes locking onto hers, searching, vulnerable. "You've breached defenses I didn't know could be breached." Leo stepped closer, the scent of V wrapping around them like a promise. "You wanted audacity. You wanted brilliance. You didn't expect connection, vulnerability, maybe even me." Victoria's lips pressed into a thin line, trying to maintain control, yet her shoulders relaxed, her pulse quickened. "This bond we're forging is dangerous. You are dangerous." And yet, Leo whispered, letting the tension between them deepen, "You're drawn to it. Just like I am drawn to you." Victoria's eyes softened just enough to reveal the truth. The walls she had built for decades were cracking. And in that crack, Leo could see the woman behind the empire, powerful yet human, formidable yet vulnerable. For the first time, Victoria didn't retreat. She let the silence linger, the bond pulse in the air between them, and allowed herself, just for a moment, to exist in proximity to someone who understood her audacity, her brilliance, and her desire. The bond was no longer professional, no longer just curiosity. It was intimate, charged, undeniable. And neither of them would ever be the same. Chapter 33. Intimate Audacity. The lab was empty now, the last traces of staff and city sounds fading into a hushed reverence. V lingered, heavy, intoxicating, a silent testament to audacity, intimacy, and the unspoken connection between two formidable women. Victoria stood near the counter, heels clicking softly on the polished floor, eyes catching every movement, every breath Leo took. She was impeccable, composed, yet Leo could see the microshifts, the way her chest rose faster with each inhale of the scent, the faint quiver in her fingers, the subtle curve of her lips as though caught between defiance and desire. "You," Victoria began, voice low, measured, but trembling ever so slightly, "you don't know the danger of what you've done." Leo stepped closer, letting the faint scent of V wrap around them, daring, intimate. "I do," she said softly, blue eyes locking with gray. "And yet, here we are. In danger together, audacious and aware." Victoria's lips pressed into a thin line, a silent battle between restraint and surrender. You've crossed a line. A professional boundary. And yet, Leo whispered, closing the distance, "You've let me in. And you've noticed, haven't you?" She let the word linger, heavy, electrifying. Victoria inhaled sharply, the faintest exhale betraying her control. Her voice faltered, and for the first time, Leo saw the woman behind the empire formidable, brilliant, and breathtakingly vulnerable. Leo reached out, brushing a stray lock of dark hair from Victoria's face, her fingers grazing the sharp line of her jaw. The contact was minimal, intimate, enough to ignite the charged air between them. "You are impossible," Victoria whispered, gray eyes dark with conflict. "And dangerous." I don't." "You don't what?" Leo teased softly, stepping closer, letting their proximity speak louder than words. "I'm audacious. I challenge. I don't retreat. I don't apologize. And yet, I see you. Truly see you." Victoria's breath hitched, pulse quickening, walls cracking further. "You see too much. You are reckless." Leo smiled faintly, letting the tension pulse. "And yet, you're letting me." Right here. Right now. Victoria's eyes flicked down at their proximity, then back up, gray meeting blue in a clash of audacity and desire. This bond, it's impossible. Nothing worthwhile is ever simple, Leo whispered, stepping even closer, their shoulders nearly touching, the faint trace of V mingling with Victoria's signature scent, electrifying the air between them. Victoria's walls faltered visibly, the controlled mask slipping just enough for Leo to see it. You make me lose control, she murmured, voice low, intimate, dangerous. And yet, you haven't, Leo said softly, letting the words hang, daring, challenging. You're still you, strong, formidable, brilliant. But maybe, just maybe, you'll let me in a little further. Victoria's eyes softened, conflicted yet captivated. For the first time, she allowed herself to linger in proximity, to acknowledge audacity with vulnerability, to feel the pull of connection without fully surrendering. And in that charged, intimate silence, Leo realized V had done more than capture Victoria in scent. It had opened a doorway, daring, bold, and intimate, into a bond that neither of them could deny. The air between them trembled with possibility, desire, and audacious intimacy, and neither would retreat. Not yet. Chapter 34. Audacious Closeness. The lab lights were dimmed, leaving only the soft glow of city lights filtering through the glass walls. The scent of V hung thick in the air, intimate, daring, and undeniably personal. Every breath carried it, and with it, the charged proximity of two women who dared more than they should. Victoria stood near the counter, gray eyes dark and calculating, yet betraying the faintest traces of vulnerability. Leo could see it now, unmasked, the way her pulse hit her wrists, the subtle twitch of her jaw, the soft parting of her lips. You've gone too far, Victoria whispered, voice low, trembling ever so slightly. This isn't just audacity. It's dangerous. Leo stepped closer, letting the faint scent of V mingle with the trace of Victoria's own perfume, the invisible charge between them pulling taut. I've never been afraid of danger, especially when it's this intoxicating. Victoria's gaze flicked down at their proximity, then back up, gray locking with blue, and for the first time she didn't step back. You shouldn't be allowed this close. And yet, Leo murmured, letting her hand brush ever so lightly against Victoria's arm. Here I am. And you aren't moving away. Victoria's exhale hitched, the tiniest shiver running through her body, betraying the walls she fought to maintain. You make me lose control, she admitted, voice trembling. I can't. Leo's fingers traced the line of Victoria's wrist, soft, deliberate, a touch that was intimate without permission yet somehow welcome. You don't have to, she whispered. Not fully. But just enough to let me in. Victoria's lips parted and for a moment the ice cracked, revealing a pulse of warmth and desire. This bond between us, it's unavoidable, Leo finished, stepping closer so their shoulders brushed, the heat between them undeniable. Electric. Intimate. Dangerous. Audacious. Victoria's eyes softened, conflicted but captivated, the professional mask slipping just enough to reveal a vulnerability reserved for no one. You see too much, and yet I can't resist. Leo smiled faintly, letting the tension pulse, letting the brush of fingers linger along her arm, letting the scent of V wrap around them both. Then don't fight it. Not now. Not here. Victoria's exhale was soft, a surrender neither fully admitted, yet felt in every tremor, every heartbeat. You are reckless, she murmured. And yet, you're letting me be, Leo whispered, stepping even closer, daring, audacious, intimate. That's progress. Victoria's walls cracked further, gray eyes dark with acknowledgement, her composure fragile yet magnetic. For the first time, she allowed herself to linger in this closeness, to let the audacity, the intimacy, and the unspoken desire exist between them without retreat. And in that charged, electrifying silence, Leo understood the bond they shared was no longer just professional or daring. It was intimate, bold, and undeniable. V wasn't just a perfume. It was the bridge between them, audacious, personal, and dangerously intoxicating. Chapter 35. Explosive Surrender. The lab was cloaked in dim golden light, the city skyline stretching endlessly beyond the glass walls. The scent of V saturated the air, daring, intoxicating, unrelenting, and it clung to them like a shared secret. Victoria stood near the counter, heels clicking softly against the polished floor, eyes locked on Leo, a storm of restraint and desire warring within her. Every subtle movement betrayed tension, longing, and curiosity she refused to voice. Leo stepped closer, daring, fearless, letting the aura of audacity radiate from her every movement. "You're holding back," she murmured, letting her hand lightly graze Victoria's arm. The contact sent shivers up both their spines. "I can feel it. And I want it. All of it." Victoria inhaled sharply, her composure cracking. This is insane," she whispered, her voice trembling, edged with want and restraint. I. Leo closed the distance fully, letting their bodies nearly brush. "Shh, don't fight it. Not tonight." Her fingers traced Victoria's jawline, lingering at the curve of her neck, daring yet reverent. "You've held the world at arm's length. But not me. Not anymore." Victoria's eyes darkened, storming with desire, her hands trembling slightly as they hovered near Leo's shoulders. You make me," her breath hitched, words failing her, walls crumbling piece by piece. Leo pressed closer, the heat between them undeniable, every breath mingling with V, every heartbeat syncing with unspoken craving. "Then surrender," she whispered, voice low, intimate, charged. "Let us, exist. Fully. Dangerously. Boldly." The next moment, Victoria's defenses shattered. She let her hands find Leo's waist, drawing her in, their bodies aligning in a charged, magnetic pull. "You, audacious, reckless," she gasped, eyes heavy with need and disbelief. "I can't resist you." Leo's lips brushed against the corner of Victoria's jaw, soft, daring, teasing. "Good," she whispered, voice low, reverent. "Because neither can I." Every hesitation, every wall, every measured restraint exploded into fire and electricity. Fingers tangled, breaths mingled, and the air thickened with the scent of V and the undeniable intensity of their connection. Victoria's hands roamed with bold, uncharacteristic abandon, exploring the strength and softness of Leo, letting herself experience audacity as intimacy. "You make me lose control," she breathed, lips hovering just shy of Leo's. "And yet," Leo murmured, tilting her head closer, "you surrender. Completely. Beautifully. Dangerously." The city beyond the glass blurred into insignificance. There was no empire, no boardroom, no restraint, only them, electric, audacious, and uncontainable. The scent of V wrapped around them like a cocoon, intoxicating and intimate, a testament to walls broken and desire unleashed. Victoria's eyes met Leo's, wide, vulnerable, and unapologetically wanting. This bond," she whispered, voice trembling, "it's unstoppable." Leo smiled, letting her hands press firmly against Victoria's back, the heat, tension, and audacity between them igniting fully. "Good," she murmured. "Then let's not stop." In that charged, explosive intimacy, nothing else existed. Not rules. Not restraint. Not the world beyond the lab. Only V, only audacity, only surrender, bold, electric, and infinitely theirs. Chapter 36. The Fierce Kiss. The lab air was thick with the scent of V, heavy and intoxicating. Every breath seemed to hum with anticipation, the tension between them taut and alive. Victoria's eyes locked onto Leo, stormy and conflicted, daring and vulnerable all at once. Her hand hovered near Leo's arm, tremors betraying the control she fought to maintain. Leo stepped closer, slow, deliberate, letting her presence envelop Victoria like a gravitational pull. "You can fight it," she whispered softly, voice low and dangerous. "But I know you won't." Victoria's lips parted slightly, a sharp inhale escaping her, betraying the draw she felt. You're reckless," she murmured, almost breathless. "And audacious, impossible. I'm exactly what you need, Leo said, closing the last fraction of distance, letting their bodies brush, letting the heat between them ignite. And you want it. Admit it. Victoria's eyes flicked down to Leo's lips, then up, searching, conflicted, then finally surrendering. I can't resist, she breathed. Leo's hand cupped Victoria's cheek, thumb brushing lightly over her jawline. Their eyes held, breaths mingling, the air vibrating with desire. Slowly, deliberately, Leo leaned in. The kiss hit like lightning, fierce, commanding, electric. Victoria's hands flew to Leo's shoulders, gripping, anchoring herself, pulling them together with a force that matched the storm in their hearts. Every hesitation vanished in the fire of the kiss, control, restraint, and audacity melting into pure, unrelenting connection. Leo deepened the kiss, letting her audacity flow, claiming space, daring, intimate, teasing yet relentless. Victoria responded in kind, bold, hungry, surrendering fully to the pull she'd fought for so long. The world outside the lab ceased to exist. Not the empire, not the boardrooms, not the rules. Only them. Only the electric, fierce bond that had been building now ignited in lips, breath, and the intoxicating scent of V. When they finally broke apart, breaths ragged, foreheads resting together, Victoria's eyes shimmered with vulnerability she never let anyone see. This bond, it's dangerous, she whispered, voice trembling, awe and fear mingling. And yet, Leo murmured, fingers entwined in the curve of her waist, you let it happen. Fully, boldly, fiercely. Victoria's lips curved faintly, a dangerous, rare acknowledgement of desire. You are impossible, she murmured, half a smile, half a confession, and I don't want you to be. Leo's blue eyes sparkled with audacity. Good. Because neither of us will be stopping anytime soon. And in that moment, fierce, electric, audacious, the bond was sealed. Not just with scent or words, but with fire, daring, and a kiss that left them both unshakably changed. Chapter 37. The Ice That Melts. The days following the lab encounter were unusually quiet for Victoria. The Blackwood Tower hummed with its usual energy, deals, meetings, and empire building, yet for her, the world had narrowed to a singular, persistent thought, Leo. She maintained her composure with the board, with clients, with her assistants, yet behind closed doors, Victoria's mind replayed every detail. The scent of V, the audacity, the kiss, the way she made me feel, impossible to ignore. And yet, she refused to call, to reach out. Never had anyone challenged her, in business, in demeanor, in audacity, like Leo had. And the ice around her heart, built over decades of control, ambition, and walls, resisted surrender. Her assistant noticed the difference immediately. Miss Blackwood, are you all right? You seem distracted. Victoria's gray eyes sharpened, masking the storm beneath. I'm fine. Just focused. Inside, however, she was anything but. Every thought, every inhale of air, carried the memory of Leo, the boldness, the audacity, the unrelenting energy that had breached her walls so effortlessly. She paced the floor of her office late at night, heels clicking against marble, and muttered under her breath, "This is unprofessional, undignified, unthinkable." Yet she couldn't stop thinking of the way Leo's lips had claimed hers, fierce and electric, leaving traces of audacity and desire she could neither control nor forget. Even when she met clients or walked through the corridors of Blackwood Tower, the memory lingered, a ghost of fire in the midst of her steel. Victoria clenched her fists, gray eyes stormy in the reflection of the glass window overlooking the city. No one has ever touched me like that. And yet, I can't stop thinking about her. For someone who had always commanded every room, every deal, every presence, the thought of Leo, audacious, relentless, fearless, consumed her quietly, dangerously. And despite the cold armor she wore for years, despite the meticulous control, Victoria knew the ice was cracking. And Leo was the heat she couldn't, or wouldn't yet, allow herself to surrender to. The days passed. Meetings, calls, and empire building filled the hours, but at night, alone in the tower's quiet, Victoria's mind betrayed her. Every brush of memory, every echo of Audacity made her pulse quicken, her walls tremble, and her longing grow. She hated it. And yet, she craved it. Chapter 38. Reluctant Surrender. The Blackwood Tower's elevator doors slid open, and Leo stepped onto the polished marble floor, her heels clicking confidently, oblivious to the storm brewing in Victoria's office above. She had a meeting, yes, but more importantly, she had an instinct that today, the tension between them could no longer be ignored. Victoria sat at her desk, eyes scanning reports, but every word blurred into a single thought. Leo. Why can't I stop thinking about her? Why does she make me feel this? The knock at the office door made Victoria stiffen. Enter, she said, voice tight, trying to maintain control. Leo's gaze met hers instantly, bold and unrepentant. You've been avoiding me, she said softly, letting the words hang in the charged air. Running from whatever this is. Victoria's jaw tightened. I am managing my priorities, she said, clipped, professional. Leo smirked faintly, taking a single step closer. Managing your priorities doesn't explain why you've been glancing at the door every 15 minutes, or why you keep muttering under your breath. Victoria froze, the ice around her heart slipping. That's none of your concern, she replied, though her voice wavered ever so slightly. Leo's smirk widened, audacity written in every line of her posture. Oh, but it is. Because I notice. And I don't just walk away when someone looks at me like that. She took another step, closing the distance. I see it. The way you're struggling with feelings you've never allowed yourself to feel. Victoria's eyes darkened, storming with desire, fear, and defiance. I am not struggling. She faltered, the words catching in her throat as Leo's presence pressed closer. Leo reached out, letting her fingers lightly brush Victoria's cheek, tracing the sharp line of her jaw, a gentle challenge against her control. You are. And I know it. You're scared. You've spent years building walls, running your empire, controlling everything, and now, someone's standing inside your defenses, daring you to surrender. Victoria's exhale hitched, pulse quickening. She wanted to resist, to push away, to maintain the persona she had perfected over decades. But the fire, the audacity, the raw presence of Leo, it was unstoppable. You're impossible, she murmured, eyes shimmering with reluctant desire. And reckless. I shouldn't. And yet, Leo interrupted softly, her forehead resting against Victoria's. Here we are. You can fight it or you can stop resisting. Let yourself feel. Let yourself surrender. Victoria's hands trembled, hovering over Leo's shoulders, the war inside her raging. And then, she let go. Slowly at first, then with audacity, her hands gripped Leo's waist, drawing her in, closing the final gap. Their lips met in a fierce, electrifying kiss, demanding, intimate, explosive. Every ounce of restraint and defiance shattered as Victoria finally gave in, letting desire, longing, and audacity fuse in one unrelenting moment. Leo deepened the kiss, letting Victoria's surrender guide her audacity, bold yet reverent. The walls that had protected Victoria for decades crumbled entirely, and in the surrender, she found a freedom she had never known, audacious, dangerous, intoxicating. When they finally broke apart, foreheads pressed together, breaths ragged, Victoria's eyes were wide, vulnerable, and alive with emotion she could no longer hide. I can't believe she whispered, voice trembling. Leo's blue eyes sparkled with triumph and affection. You can, because you did. And now, you know exactly what it feels like to surrender, fully, boldly, without regret. Victoria exhaled, letting the tension of years and walls dissolve into the charged air between them. You are impossible, she murmured, a rare, dangerous smile tugging at her lips. And yet, Leo said softly, lips brushing her temple, you've let me in. That's what matters. The room was silent, but for their breaths, the city outside forgotten. The bond was no longer just audacious or professional. It was fierce, intimate, and explosive, and neither of them would ever be the same. Chapter 39. Aftermath of Audacity. The office was quiet the next morning, the city skyline golden with dawn. Victoria sat at her desk, eyes scanning reports, but her thoughts were miles away, replaying every touch, every word, every audacious moment with Leo. She had spent years perfecting control, her empire, her persona, her reputation. And yet, in a single audacious encounter, Leo had undone decades of self-imposed discipline. Her assistant knocked softly. "Miss Blackwood, your first meeting." Victoria's eyes sharpened, a mask sliding back into place. "I'll be there in 5, she said, voice calm, professional. But inside, a storm raged. Meanwhile, Leo had returned to her own space, but she could feel the pull of Victoria everywhere, in the air, in the scent of V lingering on her skin, in the memory of gray eyes dark with desire. She knew Victoria's struggle intimately, the way her walls resisted even as her body and heart betrayed her. Later that day, their paths crossed in the lab. Victoria entered, heels clicking with precise authority, eyes sharp, but the tension in her shoulders betrayed her. She was trying desperately to maintain her control, yet the pull of Leo's presence made every heartbeat jagged. Leo's smirk appeared immediately, audacious and knowing. "You're avoiding me," she said lightly, brushing past her to grab a vial. "I can feel it. Every glance you avoid, every breath you take, it's me you're thinking about." Victoria's jaw tightened. "I am occupied," she replied, voice clipped, attempting professionalism, but her pulse betrayed her. Leo stepped closer, hand brushing against Victoria's as she handed over a sample. "You can deny it all you want," she whispered, letting the audacity hang between them. "But we both know the truth. You're struggling with this, with me." Victoria's eyes flicked up, betraying a mixture of frustration and longing. "I can't afford distractions," she muttered, yet the tremor in her voice gave her away. "Good," Leo said softly, leaning closer, breath mingling with the faint scent of V, "because you're not going to get rid of me. And you want me closer. Admit it." Victoria's exhale was shaky. She wanted to resist, to retreat behind steel walls and executive composure, but her body and mind refused to obey. "I don't know how to." "You don't have to know," Leo interrupted, bold, fearless. "You just have to feel. Let yourself. Surrender, not fully, not yet, but enough." The tension lingered, electric, audacious, intimate. Victoria's walls cracked further with every glance, every unspoken acknowledgement of desire. She hated it, feared it, yet craved it with an intensity that left her breathless. Leo's smile softened, recognizing the subtle surrender, the way Victoria's composure was faltering just enough to let audacity in. "See? You're human," she murmured, letting the words linger, teasing, intimate. "And now, we move forward. Together. Boldly. Dangerously." Victoria's gray eyes met Leo's, stormy, conflicted, yet shimmering with an acknowledgement she couldn't voice. "This bond," she whispered, "is uncontrollable." "And perfect," Leo replied softly, letting the electricity pulse between them. "Exactly the way it should be." The lab fell into quiet again, the professional world outside, still demanding order, yet inside, the aftermath of Audacity lingered, unrelenting, intimate, and transformative. Victoria's walls were cracking, but Leo's presence ensured they'd never fully close again. Chapter 40. Deeper Currents. Victoria sat in her office late into the evening, the city skyline glowing behind her. Papers, reports, and digital notifications surrounded her, yet her thoughts weren't on the empire she'd built. They were on Leo, audacious, fearless, relentless, and the way she had breached the walls Victoria had fortified for decades. Her fingers traced the edge of her desk, as if grasping at something to hold onto. "She's reckless, impossible, and yet I can't stop thinking about her." The knock on her office door startled her, though she knew who it would be. "Miss Blackwood." Her assistant's voice was cautious. "Send her in," Victoria said, tone clipped but tinged with tension. Leo stepped in, calm, confident, yet electric in her presence. "You look Distracted, she said, voice soft, teasing, but with a sharpness that made Victoria's pulse stutter. I am managing priorities, Victoria replied, eyes cold, though a slight tremor betrayed her. Leo stepped closer, audacity in every move. Managing your priorities, or managing your thoughts about me? She let her words linger, bold, intimate, challenging. Victoria's jaw tightened, fighting the heat rising through her chest. I am in control, she said, attempting to mask the storm inside her. You're in control, Leo murmured, leaning so close that their shoulders brushed. But not over me. Not over this. Not over what we've started. Victoria's eyes softened, storming with frustration, desire, and fascination. You make everything impossible. And yet, Leo whispered, voice low, daring, you can't stop thinking about it. About me. About us. About the audacity you've never allowed yourself to feel. Victoria's defenses wavered. Her hands trembled, hovering near Leo's arms, wanting to pull away, wanting to surrender, wanting to challenge, all at once. I don't. I can't. Then let me guide you, Leo said, taking Victoria's hand gently, audaciously. Not fully, not recklessly, but enough to feel. Enough to see what's possible. Victoria's pulse thundered in her ears. The ice around her heart was cracking, yet she hesitated, clinging to fragments of control she had always relied upon. And in that hesitation, Leo saw the vulnerability hiding beneath decades of composure. You're bold, Victoria breathed, eyes searching Leo's for reassurance, for permission, for audacity. I'm audacious, Leo replied softly, pressing their foreheads together. And I'm yours if you let me be. Not to break you, but to see you unravel beautifully, completely, boldly. Victoria's exhale was shaky, lips parting slightly. You are dangerous. And you, Victoria Blackwood, Leo murmured, brushing a fingertip along Victoria's jaw, are intoxicating when you let go. For the first time, Victoria didn't resist entirely. She let her hands find Leo's shoulders, closing the last inches of distance, letting desire, tension, and audacity meld into one intimate, electrifying moment. The city outside could burn. Here, the bond between them reigned fierce, bold, and unstoppable. V lingered in the air, a silent witness to audacity, intimacy, and the start of something neither of them could ever unlearn. Chapter 41. Colliding Worlds. The boardroom was immaculate, polished wood reflecting the city's skyline, but Victoria's mind was elsewhere. Every decision, every deal, every word she spoke was underlined by a single thought, Leo. Her eyes scanned the faces around the table, nodding, listening, directing, but inside, the storm of audacity and intimacy from the lab lingered. Every brush of her sleeve, every inhalation carried a ghost of V, a memory of bold touches and unrelenting desire. Leo entered the building moments later, carrying samples for a new scent project. She moved with confidence, audacity radiating from every step. As she passed Victoria, their eyes met, brief but electric, and the air between them crackled. Victoria's pulse quickened, her carefully curated persona trembling just enough to betray her longing. Later, alone in the lab, the pretense of professional distance fell away. Victoria's gray eyes softened, storming with desire and fascination. You're audacious, she murmured, voice low, almost a confession. I am, Leo replied, bold and teasing. And I notice everything about you, even when you try to hide it. Victoria swallowed, the walls she had built for decades cracking further. It's complicated. I can't let anyone see. Leo smirked faintly. Complicated is my specialty. But some things, some people, deserve to feel audacity. And desire. And surrender. The tension between them was magnetic, undeniable. Leo closed the distance, brushing a hand against Victoria's arm, a subtle but electrifying reminder of the bond they had forged. Victoria's breath hitched, eyes darkening with want and conflict. You're dangerous, Victoria whispered, exhaling shakily and reckless. And you, Leo said, voice low and intimate, are irresistible when you stop resisting. Now, are you going to let me in fully, or just enough to torment you? Victoria's lips curved in the faintest, rarest smile, a crack of audacity showing through her cold facade. I'm trying, she admitted, finally giving a fragment of surrender. Leo's grin widened, audacious and victorious. Good. Because I'm not leaving. Not now, not ever. And the Empire, and the Audacity, we'll navigate it together. The air was charged, electric, and intimate. Professional boundaries blurred. Desire intertwined with power. The city outside might demand control, but inside the lab and the tower, Audacity reigned fierce, bold, and uncontainable. V lingered like a signature between them, a silent testament to what had been unleashed, desire, vulnerability, and a bond neither could deny nor undo. Chapter 42. Desire in the Boardroom. Victoria sat at the head of the boardroom table, eyes sharp, demeanor impeccable. Around her, executives debated marketing strategies and production quotas, but Victoria's mind was elsewhere, on Leo, on V, on the audacious energy that refused to leave her. Leo entered quietly, carrying a sample tray. Her presence alone made the air in the room seem thicker, charged. As she passed Victoria, their eyes locked for a heartbeat, electric, unspoken, intimate. Victoria's pulse quickened, though she masked it perfectly behind a mask of control. During the meeting, Leo presented the new scent concepts. Each movement, each glance, each subtle touch as she handed samples was a reminder of the bond between them. The executives saw professionalism, innovation, creativity, but Victoria saw audacity, desire, and vulnerability. When the boardroom emptied, Victoria lingered, her eyes meeting Leo's in the quiet of the polished space. "You're audacious," she murmured, voice low, a confession she hadn't fully allowed herself. "And you," Leo replied softly, stepping closer, letting her audacity radiate, "are breathtaking when you let go, even a fraction." Victoria's defenses faltered slightly, though the walls of her persona still held strong enough to navigate the Empire. "Leo," she breathed. We can't be careless," she said, voice tight. This is delicate. Professional boundaries." Leo tilted her head, audacious and fearless. "Boundaries exist to be tested. Not broken, but explored. And I want to explore this with you, Victoria. Boldly, carefully, dangerously." Victoria's eyes darkened, conflicted, storming with desire and responsibility. She exhaled shakily, lips twitching in a rare, dangerous smile. "You make control feel impossible." "And you," Leo whispered, brushing a fingertip along Victoria's jaw, "make surrender irresistible." The boardroom outside was silent, professional. Inside, audacity and intimacy collided, V lingering in the air, a silent signature of desire, vulnerability, and the bond that had begun to reshape both their worlds. Chapter 43. Empire of Audacity. The Blackwood Towers lab was alive with motion, vials clinking, testers scribbling notes, and the faint, intoxicating trail of V lingering like a signature. Victoria moved among the team with her usual sharp precision, but today there was something different, a spark in her gray eyes, a warmth that hadn't been there before. Leo trailed beside her, confident, bold, a grin tugging at her lips. "You're insufferable," Victoria muttered, inspecting a tray of new scents, her tone clipped but eyes betraying amusement. "Insufferable?" Leo arched a brow, smirk spreading. "I prefer audacious. And you secretly thrive on it." Victoria rolled her eyes, but a corner of her mouth quirked. "I thrive on results, not games." Leo leaned closer, voice low, teasing. "Oh, but this is a game of results. Our results. Together. Bold. Dangerous. Explosive." The lab assistant coughed discreetly, but neither Victoria nor Leo acknowledged it. They were in their own orbit, a mix of fire and ice, audacity and brilliance, stubbornness and surrender. "Let's test this combination," Victoria said, finally, holding up a vial of a daring, unfamiliar scent. Her eyes flicked to Leo. "If it flops, it's on you." Leo grinned. "If it succeeds, it's on both of us. And it will redefine everything." They worked side by side, banter flying, hands brushing, sparks igniting in every shared glance. Every scent, every mixture was a conversation, a challenge, a flirtation, a surrender. Hours passed, and the lab was a storm of creativity. Finally, Victoria inhaled the newest combination, a bold, unorthodox aroma, daring yet refined. She froze, eyes widening slightly, pulse quickening. It's perfect, she murmured, barely audible, voice soft but charged. And audacious, just like, her eyes met Leo's, lingering. Just like you. Leo's grin widened, Audacity triumphant. Then we name it together. Victoria hesitated, then a rare, mischievous smile curved her lips. Fine. But it better be unforgettable. Leo leaned close, whispering against her ear, it is, and so are we. The lab filled with laughter, sparks, and the scent of victory. This was more than business. This was them, audacious, brilliant, stubborn, explosive, creating a legacy together. Bold new lines of perfumes, daring scents, unorthodox blends, all marked with the signature of their partnership, their bond, their fire. As the sun set over the city, they stood side by side, hands brushing, eyes locking, a silent understanding passing between them. They were unstoppable together, in love and in empire, audacity their foundation, passion their currency. Stubborn banter their constant companion. Victoria finally let herself smile fully, a rare and dangerous acknowledgement. You're impossible. And you, Victoria Blackwood, Leo said softly, audaciously, are finally mine. The city below had no idea what was coming. The world of perfumery would never be the same. Chapter 44. The Ice Queen Melts. The Blackwood Tower glimmered under the morning sun, but inside, the energy was electric. Today wasn't just another day at the office, it was the launch of the new line, the boldest, most audacious scents the industry had ever seen. Victoria stood at the edge of the lab, eyes scanning the final preparations. She had always been the Ice Queen, poised, untouchable, untamed, but today, something in her demeanor was different. There was a spark, a softness beneath the steel, and a rare curve of audacity in her smile. Leo approached, carrying the final vials. You look spectacular, she said, voice teasing, confident, intimate. The Ice Queen is showing her colors. Victoria's lips twitched into a smirk. I'm only melting enough to make sure the world notices. Not for you, of course. Leo's grin widened. Right, of course. All for the world. She leaned closer, brushing Victoria's arm subtly, a spark of intimacy that made the gray Ice Queen's pulse skip. As the press and industry leaders arrived, the world felt the change immediately. Victoria walked into the room with audacity radiating, commanding attention not just for her empire, but for the woman she had become, bold, fearless, and audaciously alive. The gray eyes that had intimidated rivals now carried warmth, sharp wit, and a subtle vulnerability that made her even more magnetic. Leo followed, side by side, teasing, challenging, and supporting her, their dynamic electric. Every glance, every word, every movement between them spoke volumes: bond, desire, brilliance, and audacity. The first scent to be revealed was V, the perfume that had brought them together, bold and intimate. As the industry breathed it in, whispers started not just of the scent, but of the audacity behind it, the audacious women who had created it. Victoria's eyes met Leo's across the room, a storm of pride, desire, and vulnerability. This is only the beginning, she whispered, audacity tempered with affection. Leo's smirk was victorious. And the world will notice. Every new scent, every daring blend, it's us. Bold, unstoppable, and perfect together. The event ended with applause, but it was the subtle shifts, the glances, the unspoken chemistry, and the audacious bond between Victoria and Leo that truly changed the room. The Ice Queen was no longer untouchable. She was alive, fierce, and untamed, in love and in power. Later, as the city lights glittered outside the tower, Victoria allowed herself a rare moment of vulnerability. You've changed everything, she murmured. Leo leaned close, audacious and intimate, brushing a strand of hair from Victoria's face. No, mi vida, she whispered. You've changed everything. And together, we'll make the world tremble with audacity. The empire was theirs. The scents were theirs. And their bond, bold, stubborn, and explosive, was unstoppable. Chapter 45, Audacity in Motion. The Blackwood Tower hummed with life. Teams worked on new blends, testing daring combinations that had never been attempted before, the air thick with the intoxicating promise of creation. Victoria strode through the lab, heels clicking on polished marble, eyes sharp and commanding. Yet each time she passed Leo, that familiar pull of desire and audacity made her pulse quicken. You're hopeless, Victoria muttered, inspecting a set of vials, but I suppose that's part of your charm. Leo smirked, leaning casually against the counter, blue eyes glinting. Hopelessly audacious, you mean? And I notice you secretly like it. Victoria shot her a glare, but the twitch of a smile betrayed her. I don't secretly like anything. Least of all, you. Leo stepped closer, audacious, fearless. Yet here we are, side by side, building an empire. Bold, unorthodox, unstoppable. Her fingers brushed Victoria's as they reached for the same vial, a spark of intimacy in a world of professionalism. Victoria inhaled sharply, eyes flicking up. You make control feel optional. Optional. Leo teased, voice low, intimate. I'd call it exhilarating. Hours passed, the lab alive with creativity, experimentation, and subtle touches, hands brushing, shared glances, whispered audacious comments. Every bold new scent, every daring combination, was a conversation, a challenge, a flirtation, a surrender. Later, in the privacy of Victoria's office, the tension that had always simmered finally found release. The city skyline glittered beyond the windows, but the world outside didn't matter. You're infuriating, Victoria breathed, eyes storming with desire and frustration. And you, Leo whispered, leaning close, lips brushing against her temple, are irresistible when you stop pretending to be untouchable. Victoria's hands trembled, gripping Leo's shoulders, finally letting go. I can't resist you, she admitted, voice low, raw. Good, Leo murmured, pressing closer, because I don't want you to. I want all of you, audacious, bold, stubborn, alive. The kiss was fierce, intimate, and explosive, a blend of passion, surrender, and audacity. Every barrier that had held them back dissolved, leaving only their fire, their chemistry, their unstoppable bond. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and the Blackwood Empire flourished under their partnership. Bold new lines, daring scents, and creative risks marked every release. And through it all, their stubborn banter, audacious intimacy, and fierce love became their signature, unshakable, untamed, unstoppable. Victoria, once untouchable, now moved with warmth beneath her steel, audacity beneath her calm, and desire beneath her perfection. And Leo? She remained the fearless, audacious force who had dared to break every wall Victoria had built, and found a home in the woman who had once seemed untouchable. Together, they weren't just building perfumes. They were building a legacy, bold, explosive, intimate, and unbreakable. Chapter 46, Bold Debuts and Forbidden Smiles. The gala was held in the city's most iconic hall, crystal chandeliers reflecting light like a constellation above. Industry elites, press, and influencers buzzed with anticipation, all eager to witness the audacious launch of Blackwood's newest line. Victoria entered first, eyes sharp, heels clicking with authority, but the world could sense something different. There was warmth beneath her precision, a spark in her gaze, and a subtle audacious energy that made her untouchable aura feel magnetic. Leo followed moments later, radiant, confident, and audacious as ever. Her presence was electric, teasing, bold, playful. As she approached Victoria, the world seemed to blur, leaving only the two of them in a private orbit. You look impossibly regal, Leo whispered, brushing past Victoria as if to steal a spark of attention. Victoria's lips twitched into a rare smirk. And you look dangerously audacious. I suppose that's your charm. Leo's grin widened, eyes glinting. Dangerous and irresistible, just like this launch. Shall we see how the world responds? They moved through the crowd, presenting the new scents. Each fragrance was bold, unorthodox, unforgettable, from daring floral blends to smoky, mysterious undertones, all infused with their signature audacity and intimacy. When the first scent, V2, an evolution of their original V, was unveiled, Victoria inhaled it herself, eyes meeting Leo's across the table. "You've outdone yourself," she admitted softly, a tremor of desire in her voice. Leo stepped closer, audacious and teasing. "We've outdone ourselves. And you're the only one who can keep up with this audacity." Victoria rolled her eyes, but her pulse betrayed her. "I keep up, only because I have to. Someone has to restrain your recklessness." "Oh, I don't need restraining," Leo murmured, leaning just enough to let Victoria feel her warmth. "I need surrender, and I know you're tempted." Victoria's eyes darkened, storming with desire and challenge. "Tempted doesn't even begin to describe it. You're impossible." "And you," Leo whispered, brushing her lips against Victoria's ear with a teasing, audacious intimacy, "are mine, audacious, stubborn, and perfectly infuriating." The gala continued around them, unaware of the electric, private storm unfolding between the two women. Every glance, every subtle touch, every daring word was a public display of audacity and intimacy, a signature of their unstoppable partnership, both in empire and in passion. By the end of the night, the world had witnessed the brilliance of Blackwood's newest line, but the bond between Victoria and Leo stole the show, a fierce, intimate, audacious love that no industry applause could match. As they walked through the empty hall later, Leo's fingers found Victoria's, intertwining audaciously. "This is ours," she murmured. "Empire, audacity, and us." Victoria's eyes softened, a rare and dangerous vulnerability shining through. "Yes, ours," she admitted, leaning into Leo's bold warmth. "Perfectly audacious and unstoppable." The city outside sparkled, but inside their orbit, there was only fire, passion, stubborn banter, and a love that was as explosive and bold as the scents they had created together. Chapter 47. Penthouse Fire. The city lights sprawled beneath the floor-to-ceiling windows, glittering like a constellation captured in glass. The penthouse was immaculate, modern, but tonight it was merely a stage for the collision of fire and ice, Leo and Victoria, unguarded and audacious. Victoria leaned against the sleek countertop, gray eyes storming with desire and challenge. You're reckless," she said, tone clipped but betraying a tremor, as Leo approached with that familiar grin. "I prefer audacious," Leo replied, voice low, teasing, letting her fingers brush Victoria's sleeve. "And you secretly crave it." Victoria's jaw tightened, pulse quickening. "I do not secretly crave anything, least of all you." Leo smirked, stepping closer, heat radiating. "Right, of course. You only crave control. But tonight, control is optional, isn't it?" Victoria exhaled sharply, eyes flicking to Leo's lips. "You make restraint impossible." "Good," Leo murmured, pressing just enough to feel Victoria's breath hitch, "because I don't want restraint. I want boldness, audacity, surrender." In a heartbeat, Leo closed the distance, audaciously brushing lips against Victoria's in a fierce, consuming kiss, a perfect blend of challenge and desire. Victoria's defenses wavered, hands trembling as they found their way to Leo's shoulders, finally letting go. "Damn you," Victoria whispered, voice low, breathless, as the kiss deepened, pulling her into audacity she had never dared to feel before. "And you," Leo countered, voice intimate, teasing, "are intoxicating when you stop pretending to be untouchable." They moved through the penthouse in a dance of fire and bold surrender, touches that burned, kisses that ignited, whispers that teased and challenged, all under the watchful gaze of the glittering city. Every barrier Victoria had built for decades shattered in fragments, leaving only audacity, desire, and unrelenting intimacy. Hours passed like minutes, the city outside oblivious to the storm within. When they finally paused, bodies pressed close, hearts hammering in sync, Victoria allowed herself a rare confession. You've changed everything." "And you," Leo murmured, audacious and intimate, brushing hair from Victoria's face, have made me unstoppable. Victoria's eyes softened, fierce walls broken just enough to reveal vulnerability. Together, we're unstoppable, she whispered. In the penthouse, in the quiet after the storm of passion, their bond burned brighter than any city lights, audacious, explosive, stubborn, and perfectly theirs. Chapter 48. Morning Sparks. The first rays of sunlight spilled across the penthouse, painting the sleek surfaces with gold. Leo stirred first, stretching audaciously, a satisfied grin curling her lips. Her gaze found Victoria, still half asleep, eyes softened yet sharp, framed by tousled hair that only made her more mesmerizing. "Morning," Leo murmured, voice teasing, leaning over to brush a finger along Victoria's jaw. Victoria blinked slowly, lips curving in the faintest, rare smile. "Morning," she replied, voice low, eyes flicking to Leo with that stormy mixture of desire and stubborn pride. "And here I thought you'd vanish before sunrise." Leo chuckled softly, audacious and bold. "Vanish? Never. I prefer lingering. Especially when I get to see this," she whispered, letting her hand rest lightly over Victoria's, fingers brushing. This is perfection, audacious, stubborn, and utterly irresistible." Victoria's eyes darkened, pulse quickening. "You're impossible." "I prefer audacious," Leo teased, leaning closer, lips brushing Victoria's temple. "And you're finally letting me in. Walls and all. I'll take it." Victoria smirked, exhaling shakily. "Don't get used to this. I'm still in charge." "Of course," Leo whispered, eyes glinting, "but I think even the Ice Queen likes a little chaos, especially the kind I bring." Their laughter mingled with quiet whispers, audacious touches, and the lingering intimacy from the night before. The penthouse felt like a sanctuary, a world where their stubborn banter, fierce passion, and explosive connection could coexist with the empire they were building. Victoria finally leaned back, gray eyes soft but smoldering. "We make a good team," she admitted, voice low, teasing yet sincere. Leo's grin was victorious, audacious, and intimate. "The best. And together, nothing can touch us. Empire, passion, audacity, all of it is ours." The city outside glittered, oblivious to the fire and audacity blazing in the penthouse, where two women had found unstoppable love, fierce desire, and the perfect, explosive partnership. Chapter 49. Fire and Surrender. The penthouse was alive with shadows and soft city light, but the real heat came from the two of them. Leo pressed Victoria against the floor-to-ceiling windows, lips devouring, hands exploring, stubbornness giving way to unrelenting desire. "You make me lose control," Victoria murmured, voice husky, gray eyes storming with fire. "And you," Leo countered, teasing, audacious, pressing closer, "make me want every piece of you. Walls, pride, audacity, all of it." Their laughter, whispered challenges, and gasps of pleasure blended into a symphony of fierce intimacy and bold surrender. Every kiss, every touch, every sigh was a conversation, stubborn, teasing, audacious, and explosive. Victoria's hands tangled in Leo's hair, pulling her closer, surrendering fully for the first time. Leo responded with equal audacity, guiding, teasing, and claiming her with a mix of boldness and tenderness. Hours passed in a blur of heat and laughter, whispered audacious confessions, and passionate exploration. When they finally collapsed together, bodies entwined and hearts hammering, there was only them, bold, unrelenting, perfectly surrendered, and utterly alive. Epilogue. Years later. The city skyline glimmered below Blackwood Tower, but the world had long since learned that Victoria Blackwood and Leo Duval were untouchable, not just in love, but in empire. The penthouse was as sleek and modern as ever, but it now carried memories of audacity, passion, and unstoppable intimacy. Victoria and Leo moved through it like a well-oiled machine, stubborn banter and playful teasing as constant as the perfume they created. "You're insufferable," Victoria said, smirking over her morning coffee, eyes gleaming, but somehow, the empire isn't crumbling. Leo grinned, audacious and intimate, brushing a strand of hair from Victoria's face. And you, she teased, are hopelessly in love with my chaos. Admit it. Victoria's lips twitched into a rare, full smile. Maybe I am. But only slightly. Their laughter echoed through the penthouse, a symphony of years of audacious love, explosive intimacy, and bold success. Every scent they launched was infused with their partnership, every decision marked by stubborn brilliance and daring vision. Together, they were unstoppable, a perfect storm of audacity, desire, and empire, still teasing, still challenging, still fiercely in love. And as the sun rose over the city once more, the world could see it clearly. The untouchable, unreachable queen had melted, and audacity had won. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe and like this video and follow me for more stories. You are always welcome here, and leave me a comment or a thumbs up, just letting me know if you like the story and would like more, or is there perhaps an idea that you would like to share or let me write for you.